we're probably as impatient as a franchise as you can be right now, given our time horizon and all that. But there's a fine line between impatience and undiscipline.
The Golden State Warriors have just exposed something they've been doing since the end of last season, a plan they've had all along for the return of Andrew Wiggins. Now everything makes sense. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Swish Culture. About 5 weeks ago, we did a video on Andrew Wiggins' last couple of years with the Warriors, how he basically crashed out right after the championship, but then seemed to be on the uptick at the end of the last season. Unbeknownst to me at the time, the Warriors had been in the middle of a plan for Wiggins' resurgence. In a recent interview, Steve Kerr came clean about the details and his observations of Wiggins, which coincides exactly with the details of the video I posted. If you want to go check out that video, click in the top right of your screen to get all the analytical insights. Today's video will cover Steve Kerr's as well as Dunleavy's latest admissions on Andrew Wiggins, as well as what this means for the team this season. I've also included basically 3 contingency efforts the Warriors have put in place to approach winning a championship for 2025. Wiggins had been undergoing a transformation for the last few months, and since the last video dropped, 22 lost his dad, former NBA player Mitchell Wiggins, who had been one of his biggest motivations. As I said before, his dad was the primary reason he's had so much difficulty in the past couple of years, and his health issues were front and center for Wiggins. Hopefully, Andrew has found some peace after the tragic loss, and he can be in a better mental space for himself over the course of the coming year. Despite the tough news at the end of the summer, however, the reports back on Wiggins' physical health and where he is mentally seem to have Wiggins primed to become one of the team's biggest contributors. Before we get started, however, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Swish Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content on the planet. Now get ready. You're about to get The biggest questions the Warriors front office have had to answer as training camp gets underway is whether or not they've done enough to compete for a championship this season. After ending up in the play-in tournament for 2024, almost every NBA circle had the Warriors needing to hit on a superstar trade to get better. They had Paul George on the radar. Lauri Markkanen was another piece they tackled, and they also inquired with the Heat on Jimmy Butler. While nothing came of it, it's not like the Warriors weren't trying to make moves or that they didn't have a successful offseason. One important quote from Mike Dunleavy Jr. stands out regarding making moves in the offseason. There's no point in going all in to be slightly above average. This is something that we've repeatedly discussed on this channel, especially with regards to the potential acquisition of a player like Lauri Markkanen. A lot of people thought the Warriors overrated their young players, especially Pods and JK, and thought that the franchise should have been more aggressive in trying to acquire a big name in a trade. Dunleavy went on to address these comments directly by following up with this.
I mean, we were super aggressive last year around the deadline, didn't do a whole lot. So you got to have a partner. Making deals in this league can be tough, but the effort, the urgency will always be there.
So to be clear, both Curry and Steve are satisfied with the job that the guys in the front office are doing. There is no bigger endorsement than Curry signing his extension as quickly as he did to let Dunleavy Jr. and the rest of the team know that he's on board. The front office has made it expressly clear that they're willing to give up some of their young players to make a deal work depending on the player they're getting in return, a stance which earned the buy-in of Stephen Curry that the team is doing everything they can to help him win another title. Again, no point in going all in and sending all your young players away after they've shown the potential to take a leap to get a player that would only help the team be marginally better than they were in the prior year. So you don't win and then you have no future. No banners, and now you don't have anyone coming to see your games because there's no potential or promise left in the team. The last quote on this particular aspect is this.
We're probably as impatient as a franchise as you can be right now, given our time horizon and all that. But there's a fine line between impatience and undiscipline.
Dunleavy Jr. could not have been more clear with that last statement. The front office knows exactly what it needs to compete for a championship, and were not able to get a deal done this summer that would catapult them into that stratosphere with the best teams in either conference. They avoided certain light trades such as Zach LaVine, for example, who was available, but considering what he'd been providing to the Bulls and the fact that he's been struggling to be considered a second option on a competitive team, the idea of LaVine was probably more of a delusion than a reality. Clearly not delusional about what the team is capable of, the front office knows that if the team goes into 2025 with the same level of performance it did in 2024, they're not going to be able to win a championship. So obviously, there must be some contingency planning. I'll break this down into 3 parts, the first of which are the mid-level signings. The team struggled defensively for much of last season, so they first addressed this issue by signing Kyle Anderson and DeAnthony Melton. Both players, known for being defense-first guys, were also teammates on the Grizzlies and will give the Warriors plenty of D from 1 through 5. Kyle is not a stranger to guarding 1 through 5, and with both these players alongside Wiggins and Draymond, the Warriors could unleash a nasty cocktail with this small ball lineup. Curry, Melton, Wiggins, Draymond, and Anderson. Yes, Anderson can play the 5 as well, considering Draymond's as well as Kyle's recent comments as stated here by Kyle himself.
Around the facility here, like Dre telling me, like, oh nah, you a 5 now, like you're not a guard no more, you a center in this offense. So I think I'd be more comfortable more in that setting, being a 4 or sometimes even playing at the 5 really.
As well as having covered Gobert during the playoffs and helping Minnesota in the dismantling of the Denver Nuggets. He really might be the Warriors' secret weapon against the Joker. That's Steph Curry and 4 of the league's nastiest defenders, a concoction that I most definitely see Steve Kerr utilizing at some point this season. A nice little factoid, by the way, is that Kyle shot 41% from 3 in 2023 on 3.8 attempts per game. This number is significant as it's the most attempts per game he's taken in his career, and coming to play with the Warriors, he'll have to do that more often than not. His 2024 3-point percentage was atrocious at 23%, but shouldn't be used as the guideline for future performance. Kyle has stated that his shooting mechanics had gotten messed up as he didn't get a chance to work on it during the offseason last year due to health issues. He's been able to work on those this past offseason, so he'll be ready to perform when the regular season starts. But obviously, Melton and Anderson providing shooting and defense aren't the only things to look forward to this season. Even with Klay Thompson, the Warriors had struggled with floor spacing. We can all discuss how this impacted players that like to be in the painted area such as Agent 007 and Trace. However, with improved shooting from the addition of Hield, along with DeAnthony and Kyle, we can expect both Jonathan Kuminga and TJD to perform even better than they did last year. To put it in perspective, the Warriors were 3rd in 3-point percentage from the top of the break, but 16th in shooting from the corner, right below the Lakers. This means that the team needs guys who are able to connect on those catch-and-shoot threes, and that's Hield, Wiggins, Melton, and Anderson. So there isn't a whole lot of pressure on the new guys considering none of them are superstars. This brings us to the second and shortest path of the contingency planning, which is the signing of a superstar player, should the right one become available. As I stated in the video prior to this one, the Warriors weren't exactly interested in Towns. The team prioritizes defense, and if a 7-footer is only bringing an offensive game, they won't get very far with Golden State. This second part has to do with the Warriors hanging on to their young players not just out of sheer belief, although there is that to some extent, but the value that these young players have in terms of helping the team to land that superstar. What that means is that the front office is monitoring the situation with a few teams to see how things pan out this season. This includes Milwaukee, Miami, and even the Phoenix Suns. All 3 teams have players that could become available mid-season for a trade depending on how things turn out. I've covered Giannis as well as Jimmy, but in Phoenix, there is the wild card in Devin Booker. Imagine 5 months down the line and the Suns continue to struggle with having Book, KD, and Beal, whose contract they're locked into due to a trade clause. Booker could be on the move, and considering the Warriors lost Klay Thompson as well as the fact that Draymond has been trying to recruit Book since the beginning of time,
they got to get Book out of Phoenix. I need my man to go somewhere where he can play great basketball all the time and win, because he's that type of player.
Are you tampering?
Maybe.
It isn't infeasible that Devin Booker could be a Warriors target. This would put a prime star player right next to Stephen Curry in the backcourt. The boost from Book would put the Warriors into contention without some of its younger players that might include Pods, Moody, Wiggins, and a bunch of first-round picks that the Warriors now have. This results in a lineup of Curry, Booker, Kuminga, Draymond, and Trace. If the Warriors are getting the same Wiggins that they've been getting, this trade is great for Golden State. However, this might not be ideal if we're getting 22 Wiggins. Speaking of 2022 Wiggins, this brings us to the third segment of the Warriors' contingency planning on putting the team over the top to win a championship. One player whose ceiling we know can push the Warriors over the top without any further trades this season is without a doubt Andrew Wiggins. When Wiggins came up big in 2022, it seemed the Warriors might have found a diamond in the rough. In the aftermath of Kevin Durant's departure, they seemed to have found a valid second option next to Stephen Curry on top of compensation in terms of a lottery pick from Minnesota. Wiggins didn't need to provide the Warriors with KD's offense. No, he didn't need to drop 25 points a night. What they did need was for him to give the Warriors top-tier defensive coverage from 1 through 3 and provide enough offensive threat, spacing the floor and being able to take over a few games here and there. In essence, an all-star level player, but not quite a superstar. Wiggins did just that, seemingly finding his role within Golden State, and so the team invested in him for the next few years to come, considering he still hadn't hit his prime and could get even better. As I've projected based on Wiggs' performance in recent times, it seems Steve Kerr as well is confident Wiggins can get back to that same level of play he did in 2022, and that the 29-year-old will likely do just that this season. Here are Steve Kerr's exact words.
Number one, he looks physically really fit. Just speaking with him, he sounds very motivated. He's very much at peace. I think he's in a place where he knows the last couple of years have been tough for a lot of reasons. I think he's primed to get back to where he was a couple of years ago. He's at the age where he's right in his physical prime. We've seen him do it. He helped us win a championship.
So where is this coming from? If you recall, at the beginning of the offseason back in July, the Warriors made an agreement with Wiggins that he would not be playing for Team Canada during the Olympics. While some speculated it might be for trade purposes, I explicitly stated that it was so that he could recover from his late season injury. The other portion of this, however, that I didn't divulge was the renewed focus on Wiggins' fitness in terms of becoming a better athlete this upcoming season. Last season, we noticed he wasn't nearly the athletic finisher he was in prior years. Steve Kerr's quote is basically identifying that issue as something that Wiggins worked on and seemingly resolved over the summer. Not only that, but in terms of his mental health, Wiggins seems to be in a better place and maybe more ready than you'd think to contribute to the team winning another championship. Considering the amount of talent this team currently has, a resurgent Wiggins alongside Curry and the deep bench would make this one of the most dangerous teams in the Western Conference. Speaking of the Western Conference, the new NBA power rankings are out and the Warriors are saddled with the 7th spot, ahead of all 3 other California teams, all in order: the Kings at 8th, Clippers at 9th, and the Lakers at 12th. At the top of the conference rankings are the OKC Thunder, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Warriors had a very atypical season last year, which caused them to lose very close games, more than any other team in the league, with 48 games where the final score was less than 5 points in the last 5 minutes and 11 losses in games where they had a lead in the third quarter. The team was more than capable of winning those games. However, with a better squad this year, this is going to cause headaches for the rest of the league. This squad is clearly underrated going into 2025, but that is par for the course for Golden State. With the 3 different aspects of the Warriors' contingency planning listed, which do you think is more likely to happen this season? Which do you prefer? Do you agree with Steve Kerr's assessment that Wiggins is going to have the season that the team is expecting? And where would you rank the Warriors in the West at this point? I personally have them top 5, but that could change depending on potential growth from the young players as well as Wiggins. Let me know what you think by posting your thoughts in the comments below. Before that, however, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time, swish.